Hello everyone. Here we have Hunney Mittal, who have just cleared his Haryana Judicial Services exam with rank 56. So I would like
Thank
to congratulate Honey for this big success. So first of all, I would like to know this, that how you are feeling after clearing Judicial Services exam of Haryana.
Sir, I believe the feeling has not yet sinked in properly. I believe that it will take a few more days to completely absorb uh, this feeling, and then maybe I'll be able to tell in a better manner.
Okay, so means I want to know this, and our viewers want to know this. That what was your academic background? How was your education from where you pursued your law, and your school education?
Right. So basically, I come from Gannor, which is in district Sonipat of Haryana, and initially, from my initial days to class 8, I studied in my local school. After that, I shifted to DPS and completed my 12th. Thereafter, I completed my law from WIPS, which is in IP University. In the year
Okay,
2015, I enrolled and I completed my BBA LLB in 2020. And after that, I started preparing for my judicial services exams. And this was my second Haryana interview. And by the grace of God, I was able to clear it.
okay. So currently you are working somewhere, or means you are practicing or doing something, or you are just preparing for the judicial services from the inception, means from the after completing your BA LLB from where?
Uh, Sir, as I completed my BBA LLB in 2020, and as we all know, it was the year of COVID. So there were no exams at that time. And so I continued with my preparation and I was able to reach the interview stage in 2022. So from that, there was no looking back. I decided to not distract myself. So I only prepared full time. I decided to take a risk, and thankfully, it paid off this time.
Okay. So why did you choose law as your career? Just after 12, many students choose something else, science, yeah, engineering background. You have chosen law as your career. So what was the motivation behind it?
Sir, I was always a good student. I would consider myself as a good student,
You
uh,
are.
but but I did not have any interest in sciences. It did not appeal to me. So I chose commerce with maths, considering my family background. But
Okay.
after that, I also lost interest in commerce subjects or doing an MBA or BBA simply. I wanted to do something which has a direct impact on the society where I would stay in touch with our social realities. So that is what prompted me to prepare for law so that I am able to be in a better touch with my social surroundings.
Okay, so when did you decide for judicial services exam, for preparation of judicial services? Means you
Uh, there
have.
was there was always a thought lingering in my mind right from the time when I started preparing for my entrance examinations in law in the legal field. But substantially, I started to prepare only in my final year. I decided to not sit for internships or for placements. I decided to go for some coaching and to prepare for my exams.
Okay, good. Uh, was this okay? You just told me that this was your second attempt. So, how was your first attempt? Means when you appeared in your first attempt, or you have did you appear in other exams as well? Means other states judicial services exam.
Cumulatively, actually, this was my 10th prelims examinations and seventh mains examinations. I
Okay.
had initially appeared in three MP Judiciary Services examinations, two Rajasthan Judicial Services examinations, one UP, one Himachal Pradesh, and one DJS. And apart from that, I had also appeared in ADA examinations. So cumulatively, this was my 10th prelims
So
and
what
my
was,
second.
okay, second.
Yeah.
So what was the your how you have performed in ADA exams? Because so many aspirants, so many students who pursue law, they also aspire for being ADA or you may say APP.
Right. It is certainly a good choice, but even though I sat for the exams, I was not able to clear the same. Maybe because I did not have the interest, or maybe some other reason, but I was not able to clear the exam.
So whether there is any difference in preparation strategies of judicial services exam and APP or we may say ADA exams.
Uh, per se, there is not major difference. The subjects are same, but I would say that judicial services examinations have a greater relevance and are more important, and they are more complex and more difficult to clear, primarily because of two factors. Firstly, the number of candidates that apply in judicial services are far more than what apply in the APP or AD exams. Secondly, there is an additional layer when we talk about judicial services examinations, which is of a mains examination stage, which I personally feel is the toughest because I have a bad handwriting. That is how I feel, and it was tough for me to clear my mains examinations. It has always been tough for me to do so. So I believe that judicial services examinations are tough.
Okay. Can you share the strategies, means how specific strategies you have adopted for your prelims exam, means exam, and for interview? Like, because when we see prelims exams and means exams, so the strategies are different. So how you have prepared for it for three stages of the exam?
So firstly, I feel that when one has to start his or her preparation, he must first decide the state for which he chooses to appear for. Because in my observation, in my experience, every state has a certain peculiarity. For example, when we talk about MP Judicial Services, one has to focus on the judgment writing paper and the legal translations. Certainly, and in case of Haryana, when we talk about Haryana, one has to focus more on the language part because in Haryana means exams, since it is of 900 marks, out of that 900, 300 marks are comprised of language papers, which is 200 for English and 100 for Hindi. And in these papers, there is scope to score well and push your rank forward, push your rank up. So, when one has to appear for a certain exam, he must first figure out the peculiarity which that exam requires. And as far as my preparations is concerned for prelims, my focus was firstly to read the Bare Act properly, to read each and every provision of the Bare Act, and then make my short notes. For example, when we talk about CRPC, now it has been replaced by BNSS, but since it was my earlier subject, so when we talk about CRPC, it is in the Bare Act itself, it is of around 400 pages, 300, 400 pages. So it becomes extremely difficult to prepare at the last minute. So I had a simple strategy. I would write three things in my short notes. Firstly, if there is any amount that is mentioned, whether it be fine or whether it is any amount. Secondly, if there is any year mentioned, for example, time duration, the time that is to be taken while filing an appeal, or the time in which a judgment has to be passed. So I would write the time, the fine, and the requisite authority that is there. For example, whether the High Court can entertain so and so appeal. So I would write if there is any other authority. For example, in CRPC, executive magistrates have certain powers. CJM has certain powers. So I would write that as well. And apart from that, I would try to write important provisions, and I would try to consolidate in such a manner that I'm able to go through my entire CRPC in around 10 to 15 minutes. And this strategy has worked for me because out of my 10 prelims examinations, I have been able to clear nine So I feel that this strategy has worked really well.
A big achievement actually,
Thank
because
you so much.
people, this is the first step where many of people, many aspirants, uh, they are not able to clear the prelims exam itself, and your strategies, they are going to get benefit from these strategies for clearing
Thank you
prelims.
so much. And additionally, what one can do is he or she can photostate the index of the act, and he can write the important provisions or important essential elements, fine, amount, authority in the index itself. And at the time of your final preparation, you can just go through the index and you will be done with the entire bare act.
Yes, this index is very important, because many a times, direct questions are being asked in prelims exam from index. Means if you have even remember the numbering of this provisions. So yes,
Yes,
this this
yes,
can be, this can also be a strategy.
correct,
So what about
correct.
means exams? How you have prepared for it?
So means examinations is one field where I have suffered a lot and where I had to improve a lot. I will only talk about Haryana because I was able to clear only in Haryana Judiciary Services twice. So as far as means in Haryana is concerned, as I told you, it constitutes of 900 marks, 600 for law, 200 each of civil 1, civil 2 and criminal paper, 200 marks for English and 100 marks paper for Hindi. And when we talk about the civil law papers, so one has to focus more on the family law part because Haryana and Punjab, I feel, are the only two states which give a lot of emphasis on the family law subjects. As that paper alone comprises of around 150, then that subject alone comprises of around 140, 150 marks out of the 200 marks in civil law 2 paper. So my strategy for Haryana is what in my limited experience that I have observed is that as far as the checking pattern is concerned, Haryana primarily only gives moderate marks in law papers. So to achieve that, one has to make sure that whatever he or she is writing, that part itself is highlighted so that when the checker he sees the paper, he is able to figure out whether the candidate has written everything essential that was required to be written or not. One has to also focus on the case laws, and this was clearly evident this time because this time Haryana made a major change. They made a major shift by including only the practical questions. They had hardly given any theoretical question. They were only focused on practical questions. And if one has not read the cases, if one does not have command over the Bare Act, it would have been extremely impossible or extremely difficult to complete the paper. One challenge that I consider that is there in Haryana is people find it extremely hard to complete the paper because firstly it is of 200 marks and secondly the questions are pretty long and you are expected to write long answers. And to manage your time is one of the biggest challenges that one has to tackle. And for that, my strategy was simple. There are basically five major questions when we talk about law papers. So I divided that question by the time. So roughly I had 35 minutes to complete one major question. So when one follows the pattern, he or she can easily complete the paper. And once you complete the paper, the chances of you clearing the Haryana mains exam they increase many folds. And as far as the language paper is concerned, this I feel is a make or break paper because it can help you clear your mains exam main stage if you have performed badly in your law papers, and if you have performed well in your law papers, it can help you push your rank after the interview marks are added. So for language, my focus was since the English paper comprises of 100 marks for essay. So for 100 marks, I decided that I will write around 9 to 10 pages for my essay. And one tip that I would suggest is when writing an essay, one must focus on the topic that is asked. For example, this time the essay that I wrote, It was on electoral democracy. So I feel, although I've not seen my RTIs, but I feel that when one writes on electoral democracy, it is majorly concerned with the election procedure and not democracy per se in general. So when one focuses on the election procedure and how it is affecting the democratic process, one may fetch better marks. And secondly, I feel that if one focuses on the words, because Haryana uh, comprises of 50 marks, which is divided equally for 25 marks for your words, vocab, and 25 marks for your grammar. So for that, one may refer to the books that are available in the market, and if one improves that aspect, then the score in your English paper it can increase significantly. And as far as Hindi is concerned, I have observed that if you're able to do reasonably well, if you complete your paper, if you do not make mistakes, then you do get good marks in Hindi.
Okay. So, what were your strategies specifically for answer writing? Because it is very important. So,
So as I said, in answer writing, one has to see that whatever he or she is writing, the same gets noticed by the checker. So
okay.
to do that, one may highlight or one may make several charts or whatever he or she may feel like doing. But the primary focus should be on getting your answers noticed, getting whatever you have written noticed by the checker.
So, how you have practiced for it before the exam?
So I had taken a lot of mock papers. Uh, Although I do not have the exact number, but I feel that I have written about 40 to 50 mock papers before actually sitting for my exam because I face a lot of challenge in completing the paper. And to do that, I wanted to make sure that I am prepared well. So I wrote around 40 to 50 mock papers.
Okay. There are several exams of judicial services where local laws are very important. So, how means whether sometime aspirants ask this thing many a time that whether Bayer Act is Bayer Act is complete for the preparation or we have to go beyond the Bayer Act. क्या सिर्फ उसी से
Uh,
पढ़ने से काम चल जाएगा या कुछ हमें उसके एडिशनल कुछ और टेक्स्ट बुक भी पढ़नी चाहिए लोकल लॉस के प्रिपरेशन के लिए?
Actually, I am not the right person to answer this because Haryana does not have a lot of
हरियाणा
weightage in papers. Uh, so I may not be able to tell this properly.
Okay, so how you prepare the case laws in for the various subjects, like in case of civil laws, for family laws. So what was the strategies specifically for, uh, you know, uh, preparing for the case laws, learning it?
Right. So as far as case laws is concerned, I have always tried to update myself with the recent decisions that are being made by the Supreme Court. So I was in the habit of reading cases. So for that, one may refer to live law, and there is also a good initiative by the Honorable Supreme Court. One can refer to Digi SCR. It is a website which gives the head notes of recent cases that are free. So primarily, I used to focus only on the head notes because judgments are pretty long and there are a lot of judgments that are to be covered. So primarily, I focus on the head notes, and if I'm not able to understand what is written there, only after that I used to read the entire judgment. So these are the two things I feel that one must do when preparing for states like Delhi, Haryana, and Punjab.
And your strategies for the interview?
For interviews, I I feel that I always felt that I am able to do well in my interviews because I have the requisite confidence that is required and the fluency. And so I did not panic a lot. My strategy was simple. I I did not try to impress the panel. I did not want to offend them. or to say anything without thinking. I tried to speak slowly and to speak only the relevant portion and only such things which I was able to defend. I tried to stay away from anything controversial or anything, or to say anything without thinking. So that was primarily my focus and my strategy as far as interview is concerned. Because when we see the panel, it comprises of the honorable judges of the Honorable High Court, and one must think twice before saying anything before such an esteemed panel.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay. So we were at the point, and you were telling that one should not be, during the interview, one should not be venturing into controversial issues, and whatever you are, speaking there, it should be it should be after a thought. Means one should give a
Right.
thought to it
Right.
before telling, before speaking anything. So
Right.
but there is a very less time, because one is asking question and you have to answer it. So what you can say for this, what should be the strategy for it?
So firstly, I feel that it should not be a problem because the exam that one is preparing for, it involves, there will be a lot of eyeballs on you when you are in the court. So you are not to get panicked by the silence. So
Okay.
if one tends to think a lot, or if one needs some time, he can simply say that he's not able to recall, and he may take a few seconds to recall. And the judges are extremely courteous, and they are extremely understanding. They allow you the time that you need.
Okay. So have you taken any mock interviews before the interview?
Yes, I had appeared in several mock interviews prior to my actual interview.
And any role of law seco in preparation of
Yes, certainly. Law
interview?
Seco. Right. So firstly, Losico had taken around 5 mocks, if I can recall correctly. And what I have observed that is different in Losico is that they actually made an effort to ask some important questions, and the interview was sufficiently long. Because when we talk about when we talk about interviews, longer the interview, the better one gets prepared. And when we and multiple interviews implies that there is a repetition, and with repetition comes confidence. So with multiple interviews and repeated, when you repeat the same thing, when you repeatedly introduce yourself, So one tends to not get scared when the actual interview happens. So that is the role that Losico has played.
Okay, like this process is, so long, three stages in the three stages in all the judicial services exam. So preparation is also takes time. So when should one start preparing for the exam? Means one is, just taken admission in his law school. So what is the appropriate time to start the preparation if someone is deciding for it?
I feel that firstly, the person must ask himself two questions as to why he or she wants to opt for judicial services, and if his reason is right, he may be able to move forward because the rigor of the exam is such that it requires years of preparations, and if not years, then at least 2 years. I feel that one needs to prepare and to go through the entire process. At least 2 years is the least one has to invest, and at the same time, because of the increasing competition, one needs to have a lot of patience. There will be a lot of moments when one may feel that he or she should quit. But I feel that if his reason is right, then he may be able to sustain better. And by the grace of God, he or she may be able to clear the exam as well.
Okay, how much time did you take to complete the syllabus?
Because I had joined the coaching, I was going by their pace. So for that, I think I completed my syllabus in around 2 years.
Okay, 2 years. So when one is preparing along with the college, or meanwhile he's into some work. So what can be your suggestion? How we
Uh,
can
so
manage?
so as far as Delhi, Haryana, and Punjab are concerned, I feel that when one is in law school, he or she should strictly restrict himself to firstly the major laws, and when one has a command over these the major laws, then the journey gets easier because majority of the questions are asked from these subjects only. For example, the criminal procedures, the Indian Penal Code, and now the BNS, the Bharatiya Sakshi Adhiniyam, which was earlier the Indian Evidence Act. So when one has, and of course, the CPC. So when one has command over these four laws, the journey gets a little easier. So during the law school, one should primarily focus on these subjects majorly. And if one has the time, then he or she can update himself with the recent happenings that are there in the legal field. And if there is still time available, then one can focus on the language part as well, because that plays major role in almost all the judicial services examination, whether be it MP, Rajasthan, Haryana, Delhi, Punjab.
Okay, can preparation be done alongside the work? If someone is practicing, so can they manage it, or it
Yes,
requires it requires full time, full time for preparation? Because
no, personally, right,
many a time people ask this question, they remain
I
in
feel
cash situation.
right. I feel that it is a question for which there is no right answer, and every answer is right at the same time, because it is like to each his own thing. If one is able to manage work and preparation side by side, then that is a better way to go to. But if one is not able to manage, and if he feels that he needs to dedicate a lot of time to the preparation only, then juggling between these two may get a little difficult. So I feel that there is no right answer to such a question.
Okay, so once notification comes out, so how people should, how any aspirant should react to it, how they start their preparation if they have just decided, so whether they should appear in the exam or not.
Unlike UPSC, in judicial services, there is no limit. You may give as many exams as you want, provided you are of the requisite age. You have not breached the maximum age that is required. So certainly one should make an attempt to appear for as many exams as he or she can reasonably can, because I feel that you get to learn a lot from every paper. And even if you the state if, even if the state for which you're appearing for is not your target state, it is not your home state, then you can practice. You can you can get rid of the jitters that are there in the initial exams. So when the jitters are done away with, you are able to perform well. So I feel that one should uh, appear for exams if he or she can do so.
Okay, one more thing people ask that there is a lot of stress during the preparation. So how one can manage it?
Uh, so as far as stress is concerned, uh, I feel that now it is not my observation. I cannot
Okay,
recall Jeff Bezos. He had said that stress comes not from overwork; it comes from thinking about the work when you're not doing it. So
exactly.
when one is disciplined enough, and if he or she is preparing diligently, this has also been my observation also. If when I was working diligently, when I was preparing and not wasting my time, I did not feel the stress. Stress only came when I was not preparing and when I was worrying about the results. So that is how I feel that one can deal with stress.
Exactly. So, what were the some specific questions which were asked in interview? If you can tell something about that.
Right. So, firstly, because I have a peculiar name, so I expected that they may ask a question on why my name is Honey and why is the spelling different from the English word HONEY. So there was some light moments initially, and after that, they questioned me on cause of action. They asked me to define cause of action in a manner, in such a way as has not been defined in the CPC. So this was the first question, and then there were several questions on cause of action only as to how is cause of action relevant, why do we mention cause of action in pleadings, and what is the relevancy of cause of action. And after that, there was another follow-up question where the honorable member he asked me on section 20 CPC. He gave me an illustration which was based on section 20 of the Code of Civil Procedure, and he asked me what I would do as a judge in such a case. So after that, I was questioned on the aspect of wills, as to, for example, the one question that was asked to me was if a will has been made by a person prior to his marriage, and after that he marries and then he dies. So what is going to be the status of such a will? So it was based upon Section 69 and Section 56 of the Indian Succession Act. And after that, I was questioned on Section 68 of the Indian Evidence Act as to how a will has to be proved, what is attestation, and in what documents is attestation required. And after that, I was questioned on there is a compromise between the parties to the marriage. The divorce has happened in Section 13B of the Hindu Marriage Act, and a compromise deed has been signed, whereby both the parties have acknowledged that no property of the wife remains with the husband, and the same is signed and the divorce is granted. But after that, what happens is the father of the girl, he tells her that she forgot to take her stridhan, and now he files a suit in the civil court. So whether he can do so or whether he cannot do so, uh, and if the father can file the suit, then what is the status of the compromise deed? And whether the if the father cannot file, then whether the girl herself can file the suit. So after this question, I was asked to go. My interview was done.
Okay, so how many members were there in the interview panel? How one has means how many members one has to face?
Last time there were nine members in my interview panel, which comprised of six High Court judges, six judges of the Honorable High Court of Punjab and Haryana, and one Advocate General of the state of Haryana, one Chief Secretary, and one member from the HPSC. This time there were only two Honorable Judges of the Punjab and Haryana High Court in my interview panel, and there was one Chief Secretary and the Advocate General of the state of Haryana.
Okay. So, one more thing, like, this is a very long process. So, what is the role of PYQs, previous year questions, in our preparation?
So when we talk about PYQs, it gives you a certain familiarity with the paper. It gives you familiarity with the nature of questions that are asked, so that one is not taken aback when he sees the paper. So PYQs are extremely important because they give you an idea of what the certain exam wants you to answer, and how you should go about preparing yourself. But at the same time, I feel that it would be an extremely wrong strategy to only restrict yourself to the PYQs and not completing your entire syllabus.
So, what is the strategy for the English? Means, it is having 200 marks in mains exam. So, what were your strategies for preparation of it?
As I've already told you, for essays, I planned on writing 9 to 10 pages for in my essay, as it comprises of 100 marks. And as far as grammar and vocabulary is concerned, one must update oneself with the recent, sorry, not the recent words, but with several important words in the English by using English dictionary or by reading newspapers regularly. So that one must do. And for grammar, you can refer to any popular book that comes in the market. And once you're done with that, you will be able to do well in your English paper.
So, newspaper is very important.
Uh, to improve your vocabulary, I feel that it is important. But when we strict, apart from that, I do not feel that, as far as the state of Haryana is concerned, apart from essays and apart from vocabulary, it holds much relevance.
So, have you prepared for GS and GK as well, or you have not prepared for it?
No, no. I did not prepare for these because
So,
these are not part of the syllabus.
in Haryana Judicial Services exam.
Yeah.
So, and what about the rest of the judicial services exams? As you have appeared in, 10 judicial services exam. So, have you not given a thought of it for preparing GS and GK?
So when we talk about GS and GK, they are primarily asked in the state of Bihar and in UP Judicial Services. But although I did appear for UP Judicial Services, I did not perform well in my prelims examination, and I missed it by a whisker. So I did not, because I did not prepare well for these. So I actually do not have any idea about GK and GS. But as far as DGS is concerned, I did prepare for these things, but only on topics which are strictly of legal nature.
Okay, and for preparation, how much are one should study a day, in a day,
Again,
or
I
it
feel that
should not be like
it is.
that?
I did not go by the hours, and it's not like I used to study the entire day. But I feel that this is a very personal thing, and there is no one mathematical rule which can be given. It is
Okay,
more
and
about completing the target than dedicating the number of hours.
सो आपकी जो स्ट्रेटजीज थी तो मतलब वो कितने कितने टाइम पीरियड के लिए आप बनाते थे? लाइक अभी अगर आप प्रिपरेशन स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं तो कितने टाइम के लिए स्ट्रेटजी बननी चाहिए? ये टारगेट्स जो लेते हैं तो वो कितने टाइम्स के लिए होना चाहिए?
So my focus was more on repetitive revision.
ओके.
I believe that if one initially one should give 2 to 3 readings in detail and slowly, but after that it all depends upon how well and how many times you have revised the subject. because the when we sit in the exam, because of paucity of time in the mains examinations, uh, you do not have a lot of time to think and recall. So if the things are on your tips, you are able to perform well, you are able to write better, and you are able to express yourself in a better manner, which gives you a lot of chance to do well in your exams. So I feel that one should focus a lot on preparation or on the revision, and he should ensure that as far as the essential elements, the landmark cases and the recent cases are on his tips, and he should not think about that while writing the mains paper.
Okay. And just during preparation, it is a very long time. So what one should do for for relaxation and for feeling a bit easy during that preparation?
Um, Actually, I talk to a lot of people. Um, I feel that one should talk to his friends to not so that it gives you a breather. If one can do what he likes, for example, some people like to watch movies, some people like to play cricket or any other game. So there are various things that one can do. So as I feel that if one is disciplined enough, then these things do not worry you a lot, and you're able to manage your time well.
What about social media? So one should stay away from the social media during preparation, or one can have both the things
No,
together.
no, I feel that social media. I personally did not do that. Uh, I was using it frequently, so I do not think that it is a thumb rule that one should do away with social media while preparing for these exams. But I feel that if someone gets really affected by seeing the things that are there, then he or she should not use that.
Okay. So my best wishes on behalf of. Some questions from our viewers. Okay, so there are some questions from our viewers. So okay, so how did you do revision for mains? Means once you have prepared for the mains, so how
So
should
as far as revision is concerned, I made short notes of the subjects, and it helps you in last minute preparation. I made short notes of the Bear Act, the recent cases, the landmark cases, and what are the important things that I have to write on that particular topic. So these things I did for my revision.
so how many case laws should one write in an answer?
I feel that the more the better. So as many cases as you can, but one has to make sure that they are not unnecessary. They are relevant and to the point. And yeah,
And any last minute strategy for quick preparation means just before, 1 week before the exam.
so I feel that a week before the exam, one should deal with the stress levels, because as the exam comes and as the exam approaches near, one tends to get stressed a lot and focus on ifs and buts. So just to avoid that, and uh, just to make sure that you sleep well, you eat well, and you do well.
Any specific source for the Supreme Court case laws? Any?
As I have initially told, one can refer to live law or DGSCR.
Okay, so there are many practical based questions which are asked in exams. So what is any strategy for it?
So I feel that when one reads the cases, then the practical questions do not pose a lot of a problem. They can be easily dealt with because they are primarily asked from the recent cases. The fact situation is given, so that should not be a problem at all.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us in
Thank
this
you.
interview session. And there is a disclaimer for our viewers that everyone have their own strategies. So, what strategy you have to adopt, you have to decide according to your situation and your it has to be decided according to your convenience and your situation. Thank you.
Thank you so much.